Robert, John Lynch said this morning on KBR that he thinks that your Jets head coaching experience has made you a better defensive coordinator. Do you agree? And what did you take away from that Jets experience?
I think anytime you get years under your belt at just coaching football or doing anything, any craft, I feel like if you're paying attention to your weaknesses, you'll find a way to get better. So I don't know. I guess it's a question more for him.
Paying attention to mistakes and you getting better. When you look at what the defense has been able to do over the first 2 weeks, what are some mistakes that were made maybe in the Saints game? Because Fred is kind of vocal about there are still mistakes that you saw in the Saints game that you just feel like you got to do away with going into this one against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals.
Yeah, as the year goes on and more tape is being put on, there's things that offenses will look for with regards to us creating, vacating different parts of our zones, and offenses are always chasing space, and so we just got to be very cognizant of the space that we're allowing to get created. And so from a precision standpoint, it could be a heck of a lot better. It was awesome that we closed the game with the last 2 drives, but and we had a really good kind of middle of it, a few good series in there where we played good ball, but on a couple of those touchdown drives, we just weren't as clean as we needed to be. The last touchdown drive was unfortunate with a couple of those penalties, but overall felt like we could have played a heck of a lot cleaner, especially from a technique and fundamental standpoint.
You Winters had that hit out of bounds penalty. You're always talking about playing with a certain amount of violence, and he seems to be sort of right at that line. How do you what's your coaching point to somebody who's right at that line but then has a penalty like that?
Yeah, no, he's they're going to call that one 100% of the time. I'll be curious to see if the league recognized it. He wasn't touching the white quite yet. And those quarterbacks are starting to show a tendency of turning it upfield and lowering shoulders too. So there's a little bit of a conflict for these defensive players when it gets to the sideline with the quarterback. But they're the ones out there shooting bullets. They've also got to protect themselves, but also be smart in those situations. When it looks obvious that the quarterback is running out of bounds, just let it go. And just know the history of the quarterback. If he's the type of quarterback that's going to try to turn it upfield and try to gain an extra couple of yards, and go do what you need to do. But I hope I'm answering your question. But at the same time, it is tough because of what these running quarterbacks are starting to do on those sidelines.
Talking about the Patrick Mahomes play?
It's just throughout the league, all of them. I think Patrick a couple of years ago tiptoed up the line when people thought he was going to go out of bounds. So and then just my experience with Josh Allen and all those guys. These quarterbacks are big, they're powerful, they're fast, they're elusive, and they're using that role to their advantage.
One of those guys, you have one of those guys this week. Do your guys have to be a little bit more conscious of that?
Yeah, he's for sure. He's a late slider. But he is fast. He's elusive. He's a jitterbug, and he's also a passer first. He's not just looking to run. He's looking to buy some time, be able to put the ball in the air. But he's as challenging as it gets.
Rena's given up a couple long catches down the field in the first 2 games. What do you see from him in particular?
Renardo's competing his butt off. The double move was unfortunate. And with every single one of them, he's learning something. His leverage could have been a heck of a lot better from an alignment standpoint on that first on the one against the Saints, and ended the route at the line of scrimmage. But Renardo, people got to remember, he's just a second-year kid, second-year young man, and he's learning and getting better every single week. Loved his energy this week. He always bounces back. I don't feel like it phases him with the way he communicates. He lines up, he goes back, he competes, and that's the one thing you want to see is that if a guy gets beat, he's still up there in press and ready to go play and compete again, and he's not just bailing, trying to stay on top. So Renardo's head's in a good spot. He's getting better, and he'll continue to compete.
Have to face Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. What kind of challenge does he present?
A big challenge. Marvin's a big, strong, powerful receiver. He's got great hands. He's a total package. And so with all our corners, whether he aligns in the slot, so it's going to be a challenge for Upton. But he definitely presents a challenge.
Robert, with Huff, Bryce Huff, when you first saw him, he had obviously wasn't really established at the time. I guess, how long did it take for you to realize he had a very unique, elite, specific quality as far as his game?
Talking about when we got to the Jets.
Yeah.
So he was a rookie the year prior, so in 21. He was playing linebacker, but it was kind of, it was a 3-4 scheme, so it was a little bit different than what we do. To give you background, I want to say we told him that if he was going to make it, it was going to be as a D end, and I want to say he put on almost 25 pounds of just straight muscle. Like his weight room stuff, his lower half strength, and all that stuff is ridiculous. And in that off season, so he got up to. I mean, he just packed on pounds, and I was joking with him during the preseason this year. When he wasn't dressed in the fourth quarter, I was like, man, remember in 23 you were still the fourth quarter D end. So it wasn't. We knew what we had, but we also drafted a couple of first rounders, and in 23 he really took off and owned that role, and ended up with the double-digit sacks. But which is kudos to him. He never got down on himself. He never got discouraged with people who were being placed in front of him. He just kept plugging, and he's gotten better and better, and he's even better now.
Robert,
When you, as far as that, he's talked about he got paid by the Eagles, but for a lot of his career, he really hasn't felt the love. You mentioned drafting a couple first-round guys. You thought he might get traded while he's having the 10-sack season. I mean, when you traded for him for a reason, but was there a conscious make an effort to say, hey, we love you here. We're embracing you.
No, he knows. He knows. I begged him not to go to Philly the first time, so. But money talks. But no, he's. I'd like to think that he feels appreciated out here. Even if he wasn't appreciated back out on the East Coast in 2 different locations, he's definitely appreciated here. And I've said it before. There's. I've always said that those guys like Bosa, the Micah Parsons of the world, all those great edge rushers, I put Huff up there with all of them. I mean, the guy produces at a very high level. They're like closers of baseball. You've got a bunch of guys standing in the outfield and the infield just watching this pitcher pitch. He just and he lights it up. But he has a special talent, and a talent that's very, 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 very precious in this league.
In your first stint here with Warner, I remember a few times you kind of had that. He was a young player. You had that push and pull of how much can I put on his plate? How much can I not? When you came back here this time, did you have conversations with him? How did you kind of go about what you feel comfortable giving him now that he's so much further advanced?
Well, the communication is constant. Just through the first couple of weeks of game planning and just pulling him in and just having side conversations on where we're at as a defense, what's he like, what he doesn't like, what he thinks we can execute. So it's just constant dialogue. He's so much further advanced. He's turned into a coach on the field.
He'll make a quantum leap in terms of performance this week, or was he just more spectacular on a few more plays?
No, that's a fair question. There's going to be ups and downs. I thought last week was fantastic for him. He was on rundowns. He set edges, knocked people back, created the mismatch that we need at tight end versus tight end. And on third down, he did a really good job collapsing the pocket and really, really giving those edge guys a chance to rush the passer. When you've got pocket push the way you do, that's where that speed comes to life, where that quarterback just can't step up. He's got to stay, hit his back foot and stay there if he feels that pressure, and I felt like Mike Hill was doing that all game. Same thing with Yator and the rest of them. But, like I said, there's going to be roller coasters. Some games will be great, some games won't, but even in the games that don't pop off the tape, he's still going to find ways to get better, and eventually it's just going to be consistent dominance.
Is there anything Marquise Siegel could have done differently or better on that touchdown catch to Juwan Johnson? What do you see from Siegel in coverage?
Yeah, no, he credit to them, and I thought Spencer Rattler put that ball in a perfect spot. Obviously, it's a big tight end. I looked at that from a coverage standpoint. That's tip your cap to them. Obviously, you can go chest to chest and try to get in there, but wish I put us in a better coverage. All right, thanks, guys.
All right. How's it going, guys? Good.
What was your evaluation of Mac on Sunday?
I thought Mac played really well. For someone who hasn't played, competitive football, a real game for I don't know how long it was, stepped in. First quarter it kind of had to settle into a groove a little bit with some of his accuracy and some of his timing, but once he did, I thought he played really good and he made plays for us to win the game. So.
Kendrick Bourne, does his, route tree, grow, given that he now has a full week here beyond what he had?
For sure. I mean, the more he's out there practicing, the more he's getting comfortable with what we do. His opportunities are going to go up, and he's a sharp guy. He picks it up, so I think you'll just continue to see him be a part of our offense for sure.
You got Connor Colby here. What were kind of your initial impressions, and what kind of growth have you seen from him from then to now?
Initially he's a real quiet rookie who just was here and working and kind of anonymous in that way. And then over time, you just kind of see a guy out there who is very consistent in camp. And when guys just show up consistently every day and are doing things the right way, you start to see, hey, this guy can play. And I think that was kind of his path over the course of camp. He played good in the preseason, and then he steps in for us in a big moment, and he played well. And so he's a guy who just, do you notice him a lot? No, but you notice how consistent he's been and how he's doing the right thing. And so we're happy with his progress, and we're going to need him to keep playing good.
I think of Jones.
Not that the draft gurus are always right, but all of Connor Colby's stuff said, boy, he's a good run blocker, but not so, the pass game, he needs a lot of work. Kyle indicated it was the opposite. Have you found that to be?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that stood out to us early in camp was how stout he was in pass protection. He didn't lose matchups. So, our evaluation of him in the draft, we thought a guy who had a really bright future. He was solid in all areas, and so that's why we drafted him. So, whatever the evals were, whatever people said, I think we had a very good feeling for him, the kind of person he was and how tough he was, and to say he's surprised us, he probably has a little bit because of where we took him, but he's been doing what we'd hoped he would do. So,
What do you think of Jones's play fake on the on the bootleg to Farrell? Kind of carried it out pretty solidly there on the handoff.
Remind me which one.
The touchdown on the naked boot when he.
Oh
he
yeah, that was great, and that's how we teach it. He's really got to sell that downhill gap scheme run. That was awesome, and we got the edge. And Luke did a good job of selling the run, and that was awesome play. And Luke did a great job after the catch too, running a guy over and scoring for us. So that was big time.
Christian indicated yesterday he felt like you guys are close to breaking some big ones. What are you seeing in terms of maybe not as much success as you'd like, but in terms of how close you are to getting there?
Yeah, I think the numbers aren't crazy. They're not going to wow you, but when you really watch that tape, I think we're doing a good job in the run game. We're running the ball efficiently. We're doing what we kind of want to do, and then there's been some opportunities where we're a hair off for one reason or the other, whether it's one block we don't finish or just a back making a guy miss or making a cut differently, but we're close. But I've been happy with our run game, and we haven't had negative runs. We've had efficient runs, which is good. And if we keep doing that, and we need to keep doing that, I think it's a matter of time before we do pop some and we get some of those explosives. But we've been good, and we got to keep getting better though. So
we've seen over the years rookies who get hurt in training camp sort of fall behind and never really are able to catch back up their rookie seasons. Is Jordan Watkins in danger of that, or has he kind of shown a sharpness, since the spring that will allow him to kind of get back up to speed quickly?
For sure. It's tough. It's tough when you miss time for anybody, and rookies especially, because just going through the rigors of the season, when you miss time in training camp, it is a setback. So he's doing everything he can do. He's a sharp guy. He's working. And we hope he stays on that trajectory and he gets his opportunity. But the truth is, it's hard when you have setbacks and you miss time. So, you kind of see what guys are made of, can they overcome it and keep pushing through it. So,
with Robinson out, Kittle on IR, and then Ayuk, return is near. How confident are you once those guys come back that this offense can kind of fire on all cylinders?
I'm confident now. I'm confident with the guys we have out there. Obviously, you name a lot of names that aren't out there, but I love the way our guys are working as a group. I love the kind of football we're playing. And as long as we have that mindset, I think whoever's out there, we're going to continue to hopefully have some success on offense. You know, we haven't turned the ball over a lot. We've played penalty free. We've been efficient. We got to keep doing those things. And so, yeah, you hope to add players who we know are explosive players who can make great plays for us, and you hope that we continue that trend. So I think we got to keep playing good football. And when those guys come back, I think it's only going to be a bonus.
Gannon has a reputation of being a pretty good defensive coach. What does his defense look like this year on film?
Yeah, I mean, schematically, they're always a challenge. You know, they're one of the more unique schemes in the NFL, and they have really good players. You know, it starts with Buda, and I have so much respect for that guy. I think he's one of the better defensive players in this league, and he's all over the field. They've added some guys up front, you know, and they've gotten better up front, in my opinion, and so that's, you know, becoming one of the strengths of their defense. So when you add the challenges of the scheme, the talent in the back end, and then them getting better up front and their pass rush, they're a real big challenge for us. So that's what we're working on, and we'll be up for it. But it's going to be a tough game.
There's so much talk about Kyle's play calling and how elite his play calling is. And I'm just curious, I mean, you know, almost anybody can call a play, but what goes into teaching guys to execute the play that you call? Especially with the reduced amount of practice time in recent years, why is Kyle good at that?
You know, Kyle's a great teacher. You know, he can get his vision. He can get his guys to understand his vision, and it's about communication and how you communicate things to people. So it starts with preparation and just the way you prepare guys, the way you teach, whether it's through installs or through film. He's exceptional at those things. And then when it comes to game day, it's preparation. You know, it's putting yourself through scenarios, putting yourself in situations where, okay, when this happens, I want to have this call. When that happens, I want to have this call. And also sort of knowing what your players are comfortable with. You know, when you get to Sunday, what do I feel like these guys are ready to execute in this situation? And Kyle puts himself through all those situations, and he's taught me a lot about how to do that as well, how to be ready for those moments. So, you know, I just think when you combine, you know, the teaching and the way he teaches our offense, and the way he prepares to call the game, I think that's where you get, you know, good play calling.
Gannon pointed out that Shanahan's really good in game at making switches on the fly. You've worked with other coaches, I'm sure. How does he compare?
I mean, yeah, I think all coaches, that's part of coaching. You have to make adjustments. And Kyle has a great eye when we're looking through the pictures and we're kind of looking at how the defense is reacting. You know, Kyle's great at communicating what he's seeing, and then we talk and we get together and say, hey, what can we do to kind of, you know, take advantage of this look, what they're doing. And like you said, Kyle just has a great eye for those things, and he sees them, and we communicate on the sideline, and we try to get it done if we need to make adjustments. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Have a good one.